The first thing you'll notice that in Claude, there are a couple of different models. So download Claude Desktop. I reckon it's really useful. Or you can just go to claude.ai and go on there. But there's models here that you can see. So the Opus 5 model in particular is pretty good. Fable 5 is the highest, pretty expensive, and chews up tokens. Tokens is just, think of it as credits. But Opus 5 is pretty good at checking its own work and iterating until it gets it right. So that's the thing that we as accountants really care about, right? So I reckon that's what you should go with if you're doing a lot of reasoning. Think of it as a smart model with kind of zero context. It's a pretty smart stranger, but if you just start typing in here, it's got no context about your business. It doesn't have any idea of how you work, what's important to you. And so what we're trying to do now is set this up, set your Claude up so it has a bit of context. Think about it as onboarding. If you have a new employee come in, you're not just going to give them work and have them hit the ground running without telling them anything about the role, what your expectations are, about the business. So what does that look like? What does onboarding look like for your Claude? The first thing is, if you look at this, there's a thing called privacy. So if you're going to put company data into it, usually in your teams and enterprise plans, they will protect your data. But when you're on a personal plan, you actually need to turn some of these things off manually. So if you go to privacy here, there's a thing called help improve our AI models. If you turn that off, it doesn't use your data to train. So that's one of the first things I'd recommend doing. Another thing I'd recommend doing is going to capabilities. And in here, you have a whole heap of things that you can do as well. So if you've been using ChatGPT as an example, you can import kind of your memory from those other AI providers into here, so it has some context built in. You can also essentially craft context and memory about who you are. And so this is what Claude remembers about me. If you've only just started using it, this will be blank or won't say much. But if you've been using it for ages, this essentially gives you an overview of who you are, how you use Claude, and what's important to you. So if you want a deep dive into your own life, recommend you go in here and understand what Claude knows about you. And you can obviously manage your edits and stuff in here. Something else you can use is obviously the profile. Here you can tell Claude a bit of instructions about yourself, about how you work, what's important to you, how you want it to respond to you. And this just applies to everything, all your chats, all your projects. It's a global kind of instruction. Let's get into the nitty gritty. So you can talk to Claude in chat. So this is the chat kind of functionality. You can talk to Claude in a Cowork capacity. And essentially this is where you can talk to Claude and ask it to do something. It'll open up Excel. It'll create an Excel file for you. Or it'll do that in Word. Or you can talk to it in Claude Code. And this is the same thing, except instead of talking to it in natural language, you're talking to it. You're still in natural language, but it's using Claude Code to give you the output that you require, whether it's an Excel spreadsheet, whether it's a HTML file, whether it's an app. It does it in that way for you. One of the things I really like using is projects. So in projects, you could treat it as a chat as well as Cowork, but projects just kind of segment your work. So I kind of live a life at the moment where I have a couple of different projects running, not just my work, but I also have, a couple of things I'm building. I've got podcasts we're running. And so I've got a project for each of these different initiatives. And each of these projects have instructions under them. Essentially, these instructions just tell Claude what's important to me, how it should respond to me. It tells Claude what my deliverables are, might give Claude essentially things that are important for my project.